Okay, Colette, you are live.
Oh, this is so exciting. Hi guys. Tell me where you're from. Welcome. We are doing Oracle Cards 2.0. We're going to do a few fabulous workshops this summer. And today we're going to talk about the number one secret to working with Oracle cards. So in the chat is open. Tell me where you're from. I want to know so I could say hi. Do you see them? Nobody's in there. There's so many people registered.
Yeah.
Hello. There it is. Alberta, Ottawa. Oh, it's Canadians. Utah. Hey, everybody. Winnipeg. San Diego, California, the UK, Zurich. Oh my God, now it's going fast. Northern Virginia, Louisiana, Washington, Colorado, Sweden. That's going so fast. There's Sharon from. Okay, the chat is going too fast. I can't say your names. Okay, there's Debbie from Florida. I got that one. Christine. Oops, I can't. And Anna and Namrita. And okay, wow. There's so many people saying hello. So you know what? There are people here from all over the world. This is so exciting. How many countries are being represented, Mark?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
It's quite a bit.
Okay, we've got America, we've got Germany, we've got Florida. That's Australia.
That's 4 in the morning.
Oh my gosh, Australians, Norway, Holland, Chicago. I love it. I love it when you guys are saying hi.
Belgium, England.
Belgium, the UK, China. Nova Scotia, that's not its own country. I'm going there next weekend. I love Nova Scotia. Vancouver, Nevada, Winnipeg, more Americans, more Canadians. Woohoo! And Brazil. Oh my gosh, this is Denmark. This is I get so excited. I totally love doing these. When my husband said to me, he goes, hey, are you open this summer to doing some workshops for people online, as a gift? And I'm like, are you kidding? I love this. I love teaching. So you're going to really enjoy this today. Now, Romania. Oh, now look at everybody. Newmarket, Canada. Look, Scotland is in the house. Wow. Hawaii is in the house. That's not its own. Italy. Okay. Italian. More Denmarkers. Okay. You guys keep saying hi. So what?
Danish.
I'm sorry. Oh my God. I love this. So I've chosen to do this rather than Facebook Lives because I think what happens is that we can really give you some really good content just to get you thinking about different ways of looking about Oracle cards if you're going to start working with them, and give you things to think about. Now, we are going to have a wait list for Oracle School too, but even if you don't come to Oracle School, every week we give tidbits about working with Oracle cards to get you really used to it. But I'm going to ask Mark to do a poll now. My husband is Mark. For those of you who do not know, he is sitting beside me, making sure that nothing goes awry since I am technologically challenged. Hello, darling. We're going to do a poll. So how much expertise would you have with Oracle cards? Let's take a look. You're either a newbie, use them a bit, or you're very familiar. And it's so fun to teach the very familiar people, FYI, because we learn new things all the time. We have a lot of, so good, 45%, no, more, 50%. So we only have 20% newbies.
Fill it out.
Okay, in other words, keep talking. Okay, Marty from Arizona. Now it's slowing down a little bit. Stuart from Kristen, brand new to Oracle cards, excited to learn about them. What's going on? Oh, check my thing here.
Can
I start now? Okay, good. So listen, while we're waiting for more people to join and get the results of the poll, here's what I'm going to cover today. So I want to teach you about the most powerful point when you first touch your Oracle cards and you start to use them that most people actually skim over and they overlook. Now, it's no one's fault. It's just that nobody really teaches this. And so I really want you to get best and most accurate understanding of the first card. And so this will help you immensely when you learn to read for yourself, especially because it's so hard. You have a bias, etc. But especially when you read for other people too, then it makes your readings unbelievably accurate. And the other person is going to be shocked because you understand what this first card holds. So what I want to impart to you is that first card is like a treasure chest of fabulosity. So what is it we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about the anchor card. I'm sort of slurring my words today. Okay, so it's called the anchor card in a reading, and it's the first card you draw or the only card you draw in a reading. So
fix your necklace.
My necklace needs to be fixed. Oh, I'm so sloppy. I apologize. I'm not,
All right, go
okay.
ahead.
The boho look is like all over the place. Okay, so we're going to actually, you know what? We should check out the poll now. So 20% are new of you, 45% of you use them a bit, and 33% are very familiar. So what I'm going to teach you is good for all three of you. So even if you've never used Oracle cards, boy, are you going to do it really well. Or if you use them a bit and you really want to understand, like, why does that first card sometimes not make any sense to you, or what more can you learn about it? And for the people who are really experienced, you're going to get another perspective and view about how to work with Oracle cards that I don't think anybody else teaches. And if they do, I'm just going to give you my version of it. So there you go. Are we ready, do you think?
Are you?
We have a lot more
poll?
people. Yeah, there's like
Yeah.
2,000 people.
Yeah,
That's so
poll.
amazing. I did the poll. And how about we start the presentation?
Okay.
We have awesome slides.
All right.
The first thing you need to know about the anchor card is that it's your starting point. It's the first point of reflection, and it holds literally everything that you need to know about your question and about why you asked the question. Second, the anchor card also reflects dominant energy, yours, the other person's, or the situation. That's really important too. And third, we're going to talk about the hidden influences. Everything is hidden right in front of all of us in plain sight, but you just need to learn what you're looking for in this anchor card to give you this information. Now let's go deeper. So let's talk about why this anchor card is the most important card in your reading. So think about the word anchor. What does that mean? So it anchors. It's like a ship. It's floating on the water, and you want to stop, look around. What are you going to do? You're going to put an anchor down, and it's going to hold you in one place so you can look around, right? Now, the anchor card is going to show you your point of vantage. In other words, where are you looking? At the point of vantage will tell you what you can possibly see, what's behind you, what's around you, and reflects specifically where you are when you ask the question. So the anchor card is going to show you your mindset. So if you slow down long enough to look at that one card, just that one card, you're going to be so amazed at how much information you can get on one card. So besides your mindset, like what kind of mind did you come to it? It also begins the story. So the story that you're looking for is the answer to a question. It's not going to be a finite answer. You're going to be looking for the story that's in motion already. This thing began someplace else. It didn't start now. This is the starting point to the question, but it has a background. Everything is rooted in the past. So there's already something that's already happened. Something has seeded the need for you to ask the question. So you want to see the whole story in motion, and the first card you pick is going to give you that and more. Now, one thing I want to remind you, and that most people don't think about, is that, say, for example, you have 56 cards in an Oracle card deck. Well, these are, pretend it's like 56 tiny, like icebergs. So you only see this much. Then it reveals this humongous thing underneath it. So remember, Oracle cards they're portals to awareness. They're opening up the conversation, etc. And everything that you need to know is in that first card. And that's the card that most people skip over. Or you think, okay, I got this card, now I'm going to go to that one. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit of history with this too. So my background is working with ancient divination systems. And the I Ching, or the I Ching, or however you want to say it, which is the oldest Chinese oracle system. The first hexagram, now you either put sticks or coins, and there's a hexagram, like you have 6 lines. And that hexagram tells you not what's going to happen or not what an answer to your question. It gives you the basis for your question, things that you might not have thought of. It gives you your point of vantage and also reveals something to you that you might not have considered when you asked the question and you toss the coins. So I really learned about that first section in a reading because I could apply that later on to Norse runes, to the tarot, to all kinds of different systems. And of course, when I created my own oracle cards, which of course this is what we're doing, I realized that that had to be built into the deck. So whenever you pull an anchor card or the first card of your deck, you need to spend more time on that first card than you do subsequent cards, because this is the card that's going to tell you most of your information and the rest of them continue to tell the story. But this card is your number one secret to the best possible, most accurate reading you're ever going to have. Okay, second, let's talk about this dominant energy. What does it mean? So when you pull an anchor card, what does it mean to reflect the dominant energy? So I'm going to pull a card and show you, but I want to explain it to you first. So if you have an energy when you come to the card deck, when you're confused, you're angry, or you have an expectation about something, you're bringing that to the reading. So that's going to be reflected in that anchor card. So that's why I always say people need to come neutral to the reading, but many of us don't. And so it's sort of something I teach in Oracle. Well, it's not sort of something, it's definitely something I teach in Oracle school. But typically we go when we're confused, we want an answer, we don't know what's going on. So that is that fuzzy energy that's going to affect the first card that we pull. Now, say you're angry and say that you really want something to resolve, that's going to be there too. So whatever emotions or mindset that you bring to this reading, that's going to show up likely in the card. Now, the other thing that's going to show up is that the deeper layers that's affecting you. So, for example, let's say that you've been affected by something else that has nothing to do with your question. So that energy, let's just say you're mad at your spouse or your lover and you want to ask about your career, but you've been so affected by this other thing that it's going to show up and you're going to wonder, I don't understand. How did I get this card that says something about me being upset when you're not, right? About the question that you're asking. So dominant energy is such an important thing to consider before you touch oracle cards, because that's what confuses people the most and why it's one of the best secrets that you can have under your belt to get the most accurate reading is because if you know this in advance, especially if you're working with somebody else too, let's say you want to learn how to do cards for someone else, you can then look at, especially if they've touched the cards, like, ooh, I wonder what dominant energy they're bringing to this. And you'll know what it is by if the card is in any way ambivalent to the actual information that's being sought. Okay, so that's what really important that you need to know. Now, the other thing is the energy of the environment. That's the piece I was talking about here. But what if also the environment means that there's stuff going on that you aren't aware of? So I always say when the elements are in place, you can get a really clear reading, but sometimes the elements are not in place. So imagine that there's like chaos going on around the situation that you aren't aware of. So you're asking the question, but you don't know. Say, for example, you're asking a question about somebody else and your relationship to them, because you always have to do it in relation to you, but you don't know that's going on with them. So they may have a lot of chaos. So say, for example, you get the card chaos, the card that represents chaos. It doesn't mean that chaos is coming. It means that that's the energy that's affecting that other person. If it's not affecting you, it's affecting the situation. So sometimes that anchor card can be confusing for people because they don't know that these cards represent all these different things. One card represents everything that we're talking about. So another subject, this is the part that I love, is when you go and ask a question of the cards. And so you're picking that first card or just one card. I love one card readings, like for this purpose. And that card has nothing to do with the question that you're asking. Like, doesn't that blow your mind? I bet you that's happened to you already. Well, the question you have to ask yourself is, what is this talking about? So if, for example, the cards, remember the cards they have no power themselves. They're reflections of energy that's in motion, your stories that are in motion. What if the cards are going to talk to you about a subject that you need to address first before you can get your question answered? And that's exactly what the cards will do. They will detour you sometimes, like tricksters, to look at something else so that you can resolve that first before, then you go back and you can ask that question. So anchor cards have everything I've told you so far is so powerful for when you are just picking that first card. If you're doing this for somebody else, you will blow their minds with one card of what you can actually see in that one card. Like I said, tip of the iceberg. The card itself, series of symbols, metaphors, tells a story that you see in the pictures on the card and what you see in the guidebook, but also you now know what to look for. And you can say to yourself, like, wow, I wonder what this could mean if I applied it to this. Now let's do an example. So let's say I'm going to do a reading and I'm going to ask about an unavailable person. All right. So what do I need to do? Now there is no unavailable person for me. So I'm going to let the cards, that's my energy. I'm telling them we're doing an example. And so if there's actually my husband was at one point, maybe I'll do it about him. What did I need to know about my husband? He became very available. Kidding. No, actually that's true. So if you were to deal with a relationship with an unavailable partner and you're really connected to them and you really want to know what to do next, so what is my next right action? That's another way that you could ask the cards a question, right? So let's do that and see what the dominant energy is, because you're looking to make a move or not make a move. So I'm just going to shuffle the cards. For those of you who are new, I use Wisdom of the Oracle, these cards here, because this is the card deck that I teach with in Oracle School. It's my most comprehensive oracle to work with these kinds of more complicated questions. Okay, so I'm just going to pick a card. Oh my gosh, this is so great. So regeneration. So let's say that this unavailable person, right now you're saying, like, what do I need to do? So regeneration is perfect when you're talking about a relationship. Because, okay, so this is one thing that I learned over the years, because I had many relationships. I kissed a lot of frogs to get to the prince. How about that? So regeneration reminds us that every relationship is meant to fail except the one that doesn't. So you look at that, go, right, like what died before? So what did I learn from all my previous relationships? Remember, I said in the last section, in the first section, was that the oracle card will show you not just your point of vantage, but gives you a 360-degree view, and you're looking at the past too, because this story is already in motion. What does this tell me? What's the energy? So I want something to begin again. That's my energy. My energy to this card, or the energy of the person, whatever, is that I want something to begin again. I want to make love grow again, or make friendship grow again, or because this is all about what happens after something has died and has been brought back to life. So this is a fantastic card for this, generally when we're looking at a partner that we really want to be connected to that's kind of unavailable and you really don't know what to do next. And this one is to let it be. The answer here is my action is to allow it to regenerate. This is a natural process. This isn't anything you can force. This isn't anything you can scheme. You can't manipulate or cajole or show up in nice underwear. This is basically, you got to let it take its course because it's already regenerating. There's already something that's beautiful and new coming out of that. So isn't that cool? Now, so let's just pretend that we're now looking at the other person's dominant energy. Say we're looking, because this actually could apply to the other person. Say you're asking about the same person. Say you're asking about your relationship to them, and what do I need to know about my relationship with so and so, right? So let's just use the same card because this is the question that you're asking. So the dominant energy of this card that you're bringing to it yet again is like, I want to allow something to take its place, take its course, but it's also showing the other person. So the other person is also in that regenerative stage. Now that doesn't show that the whole tree grew, right? So you just even look at the picture, it's beginning, right? The leaves are just starting to come out. So that person, is taking their time, that there may not be unavailable at all, that they're just a little slower than you, at least that's what happened to me. I pretty much could have gotten this card with me and my husband. He was the guy with the little leaves and I was this fire underneath it going like, please please make this be real. Of course, I married him and we've been together ever since we met. So this is the way we want to see how your dominant energy can affect an oracle card. Now, let's pretend that this, you're looking at this and you want to look at another subject, or say to yourself, like, let's say this didn't apply. Let's say that you're asking about a relationship. This didn't make any sense to you at all. So what could this be looking at? What could this be asking you to look at that you need to address first before you can ask that question? So if this was the question that you're looking at, because these are all the things that you need to take into consideration with the anchor card, is, oh, so what is in motion around me? What needs to come back to life before I can make this choice or understand this relationship or pick the next card or do any of those things that that we need to do to understand the deeper layers of this particular anchor card and the energy that's surrounding the card, right? So like maybe this is the energy surrounding another question. You have to address this before you can actually ask that question. So these are the things to consider. You're the only one that can figure that out while you're doing the reading, but these are all the things that you need to look at. Now, we are going to talk about my most favorite thing, which is hidden influences. So what about hidden influences? What does that even imply? It means that there's something going on that you don't know about, you're in denial about, or you can't see clearly, that are influencing why this card came up as part of your answer or the full answer. So what could a hidden influence be? Well, if you come to a reading with an assumption, for example, let's say you've bought into a story, and that story is really predominant in your head. And you are going to the oracle card deck, you're not neutral, you're in a story. So you're really looking for confirmation about a story that you've assumed. That's not about the truth. That's about a story that you've assumed. I have a very funny story actually to share with you about this. So I had a girlfriend who's learning how to use the cards, and we talk about them all the time. She's my friend. So there was another friend that had not called her for a while. So she picks a card and goes like, I think there's something going on. I'm not telling me. I know there's something up. So she gets truth be told in protection. And of course, truth be told in protection says that it reflects that there's something, inaccurate happening. Somebody might be lying to you or not being truthful or withholding the truth. This entire story that comes up with that card. So of course she saw that as a confirmation for her deciding that this was what was going on. But the truth was that was just showing a reflection of the assumption she had made about this particular story. Now this friend was completely innocent, had no idea that this is going on. And so once they ended up talking, my other friend said to me, like, well, what happened to my card? My card said that was happening. And I said, no, that card was saying what you assumed. So, and I learned that actually when I started learning the I Ching. Well, not started learning, but I've done the I Ching for years. And like I've been doing I Ching for 40 years, and I still have to really, really look at that first hexagram, for example. So we're looking at the first oracle card. And that's, showing you all these layers that you brought to the table when you picked that first card, or that in that case, it's that first hexagram in motion. So like, what the heck have I put in motion? So that and again, hindsight's always 20/20, because it's always easiest to learn when something's actually happened. So of course, what we sat down is we went through like a forensic thing about why there was an assumption. So that's really key, because assumptions muddy the waters. You don't get, the card may be very accurate, but you're not seeing the accuracy of the card. You're not applying it in the right place because you've come with an assumption and you're actually looking for this to be underlined. Now, that brings projections onto the screen. So you'll notice, and again, this happens to a lot of us. It happens to me sometimes too, when I go, okay, what did that really mean? Am I bringing an assumption to the table? Am I bringing my own influence to this? Have I already decided that this story is this way? Do I have an expectation? Because that will show up in the anchor card. And it's just good information. It doesn't mean that it's wrong or bad. It actually says, I came to the table with this idea. Then you pull the other card or whatever. Even though we're only talking about this first card, you see that story in motion playing out with other cards. If you only stick to that one card and you've brought an assumption, you're actually not getting the real reading. You're getting the assumption that that card is telling you something that's going on when it's only telling you, it's the mirror in your face going, hey, hello. Now I'm going to give you an example by pulling one of these cards. And the thing that I like to get to with everybody, and what I teach in Oracle School too, is the neutrality piece. You have to be neutral and curious. If you're coming to your Oracle cards in an emotional state, you're going to get a reflection of that state, and your cards, you will make assumptions about your cards even that are not accurate. Okay, so let's pull one and say, oh, I'm going to pull one, see what my I already know what my hidden influence is. What do I need to know about this webinar, or this, I'd like to call it this workshop? What do I need to know? Don't I love this? Okay, so truth be told, in protection, in that was the card that I wanted to teach on, and the card came up. So this makes total sense. I didn't pull the card, I just told you the story. Now you can't make this up. So here is this very card that we were talking about as the example. So in my head, I was like, okay, what else do I need to teach these guys? And this tells us about that very thing that reflected what I was teaching you without a card. Isn't that cool? Again, this is like, you can't make this stuff up. I'm like totally freaked out. So let's put this all together so that you can see the bigger picture. Okay, I know you're all going to be asking me this in the Q&A, which is, by the way, coming up. So I want to answer it now. You're going to ask, well, how do I separate myself from all this energy and my hidden influences and, get my right vantage point and know all these things? That's a lot. Well, here's what you need to know. You have to go to the Oracle anytime you work with Oracle cards in a neutral, observant way. Get your emotions down. Don't go to the Oracle cards all messed up and confused and blah, 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 blah. Just get yourself into that space. Now, I have free meditations that you can get. I've got an app. I've got PDFs that you can download for free. I've got a newsletter. I've got all this free stuff for you that will help center you and ground you so that when you do approach an Oracle card deck and you are going to do a reading for yourself, you come to it clean. And that's really key because your anchor card is going to reflect a gazillion things, and you want to make sure that it reflects the clarity that you are seeking. Okay, let's go through the list that I have here all written out, that what you're going to get from learning this and what is it that you're walking away with here. So you're going to experience a number of things by knowing this stuff and really pay attention to it. You're first of all going to get the most clarity that you have ever had when you do a reading for yourself, which can, as I said before, get convoluted because you have a personal bias about yourself. This helps you know yourself well. When you work with somebody else or when you decide to do it with a friend, you're able to really look at all these different angles that you didn't know you could look at by addressing one card, the anchor card. Remember that 360 degree. You can look and be curious only when you're neutral, when you look around. Okay, now you're never gonna second guess yourself again because it's not about that. You have all the things that you need to look at. You have all the little points. Are these things true for me? And is this what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Now, you'll have an intuitive edge. Why do I say that? Well, you don't need to be as super intuitive or certainly not psychic to work with Oracle cards, but it's like going to the intuition gym. You know how your muscles atrophy if you don't go work out, if you don't do any weights? I don't know, because I got arms that flap around. That shows you that I don't go to the gym. So you're going to have flabbiness in the intuition if you don't exercise it. Working with Oracle cards is like going to the intuition gym. And the more accurate you are and the more you can align yourself with these stories in motion, the more clicked in you become. I guess Sonia Choquette says, you can trust your vibes. You really can. The more you do this and the more you know. Full clarity and information, more information, right? And one card can give you so much information with one question, one card. Then you feel empowered. Once you start getting this information that you need and your readings are accurate, you really start to feel empowered. It's you, the cards are reflecting you, your connection to the universe is where everything becomes possible when you're connected to the universe. And the Oracle cards are the key to that connection to the universe. So, you've got this dialogue going on all the time. You're making better decisions. You feel more empowered because you feel more confident. I think that's really key. We live in such chaos and uncertainty right now. Having a bit of extra confidence and staying out of fear is a really big bonus when you get a chance to learn how to work with oracle cards. Now, wasn't that great? So let's go over everything that we learned today. Number one, our first point is about self-reflection. It's the first point of self-reflection when you get an anchor card, where you are in the mix, clues about your past and your mindset. Number two, the dominant energy of the situation or your dominant energy or the person you're reading. Number three, what's hidden? Did you make an assumption based on your personal bias? Go neutral and curious. What if you knew nothing? What else could this mean? Now it's time for the Q&A, my favorite part. Right, Mark?
All right.
All righty then. I hope you enjoyed that. And now we are ready for my absolute most favorite part, which is the Q&A. So here's where you and I are going to get a chance to interact with each other a little bit. Mark over here is going to cut and paste all your questions and stick them over on my computer. And by the way, too, quite a few of you were asking about whether or not there's going to be replays. The entire workshop is yours. There will be replays. Anybody who registered for this workshop gets to have this as a replay. So I know I taught you a lot and covered a ton in this short workshop, but you can go back and watch it over and over again because you probably will need to. And even write some notes down about, what comes up for you in those different sections, right? That you need to know about that first card. But once you get that down, oh my gosh, you are going to be so, so, so good. Okay. Do I have a book on how to rather than a course? No, I do not. And I find that the course is much more effective because cards are experiential. And although I could easily do a PDF or an actual book on how to do things, and unless you're in a really great environment, like I prefer to do courses like, for example, Oracle School, where we have groups of people and mentors and people are learning and experiencing together. So you're not in a vacuum. But I know my publisher has talked to me about doing a how-to book. So that still may come, but not anytime soon. Okay, so Kay asked, does the app for Wisdom of Oracle give as accurate a reading as the actual cards? I love that you asked that question because we obviously have apps for all my card decks. And the first one that we did was Wisdom of Avalon. And I was really worried because I thought, is this going to work? But if you look at the law of synchronicity and everything being random, because it goes through a randomizer. So when your consciousness, when you have a consciousness that you go to the app with, it's the same thing as when you touch the cards. Your consciousness is something that's not defined by your body or your hands or the actual cards themselves. So I was really impressed. So the reason I have all these apps is because the first one that was made completely blew my mind. And I was so excited about it because I realized I can't carry all these Oracle cards in my purse. So I find them to be very accurate. And I use both of them, by the way. How do you know your card is a reflection of an assumption or a projection? And so that's something you have to ask yourself. So working with divination systems are really about inquiry, right? So all the layers of inquiry that you bring to the table, you have to ask yourself that. That's something that you know already. If you don't come to blank to a reading, you're coming with stories. So you want to ask yourself, is this my assumption? And most of the time you find out after the fact. But you can determine that in advance by knowing, and you actually can feel it in your body. So an assumption lives in your body, especially a negative projection against someone else. It lives in your body as a resentment, as anger, as something that is held in your solar plexus that actually feels like a lie. The truth may not feel like it fits the story, but it goes like kerplunk. So that's something, again, these are, again, questions of inquiry. Where am I looking? Where am I seeing? Do I have an assumption? Did I come clean to the reading? So this is why you get to know yourself a lot more. It's one of the things I teach in Oracle School in personal mastery is understanding the consciousness that you bring to every situation. It's really fascinating because it is how we operate with the law of attraction, by the way, too. So it's fascinating. Also, brain science, it tells you the reticular activating system of your brain is set up so that you will look through a specific bias that you've already set in motion. So that's another way that it interacts. It's so interesting. I mean, I could talk about one card for a year. It's pretty cool. Okay, so let me ask the next one. I don't know that I'm ever honestly neutral. What do I do when a situation is charged? You identify that it's charged. So sometimes I will go myself to a reading and I haven't meditated, and I take that into account, either afraid or angry, or, again, like I'm only using challenging emotions, because when you go neutral, typically you're happy or you're grateful or whatever. And that's a way to clear the slate, is through gratitude. It's the abracadabra of everything. So if you do come to the reading and you're stirred up, just know, oh, I'm stirred up. So likely that first card is going to address me being stirred up and help me get to neutral. So, or that homeostasis, that sort of sense of coherence, that then you can have objectivity. You can look with clarity at what you're reading. That's why Oracle cards are not easy to learn by yourself. And they're easier to read for other people, but they're most powerful to read for yourself. Like when you get that you have a relationship to the universe, when you've opened your connection to the universe and it speaks to you through the cards, it's fascinating and it's amazing. Not only do they reflect you, but they are a way for you to communicate directly and interactively with the universe. If they're only reflecting you, then it's narrow. That's why we go to it with a more neutral way through meditation, etc., which I teach at the school. Can I do a reading with multiple decks? As a matter of fact, now, and I know I sound like I'm talking about Oracle School a lot, but you can't even join anyway because it's not till September. So, but it's so exciting because you can. And actually, in my second level course, I teach people how to read with a council. So a council of multiple decks. And every year at Kripalu in upstate New York, I think it's upstate. No, it's not in upstate New York. It's in Massachusetts, sorry. We do a full look at the year ahead, prescription for the year ahead, using gazillions of decks, like everything from Lenormand to tarot to other people's decks, etc. I teach with my decks, of course, because they were created specifically to work a certain way, and they all work together. My decks have all been created to work together as partners. So it's like they're all wise people in the same club. Okay. Sometimes I get mixed readings saying yay or nay. Is this my energy? No, Kate. Yeah, well, how's this? Yes or no? Yes and no. How about that? That's a mixed statement to your question too. And thanks, Mark, for getting all these together so fast. It's amazing, like all the questions.
Oh, there's a lot.
And there's a lot more. Okay. So they're all really good. So I want to give you the information. So you don't want to ask the cards yes or no. They are going to reflect the layers of motion and experience that you can have surrounding the subject you're asking about. And this is one of the reasons why when you make predictions with Oracle cards, for example, even though they can be accurate in terms of the subject, they sometimes won't be accurate in terms of the experience of that subject. So that's why I like to say they're prescriptive also rather than predictive. So your yay or your nay, yes. It can be also the fact that you might have had an epiphany between the yay and the nay. So you have to look at these as reflections of motion. Nothing is static. That's why the cards can change, because you are not static. The minute you keep on only doing what you did, you're going to get what you got. So given that you're here on this workshop, I don't believe anybody that comes to my workshops want to stay where they are. They want to grow and change and evolve. So evolution implies change. So I think you just need to be a little lighter and just ask the card, like, what does this mean? So, if I got a yes, move forward, well, maybe that yes to move forward made you go to a place for a different point of vantage for you to learn something, to then realize that the thing you're asking about is not for you. See what I mean? So it sounds complicated, but it's actually not. It's just lots of moving parts around this one thing. Okay, Stuart says, so what do we do when we start with confidence, but the confidence goes and we struggle to get it back no matter what we know and what resources are available? I love this question, Stuart, and I'm wondering if you're my Stuart that I think I know, but there's a million Stuarts. I don't know why I think it's you, but whatever. So the Stuart that I don't know is you. Here's the deal. whenever we think we're the ones, and I'm going to just say this to anybody who thinks about intuition, for example, and doing this for someone else when you're thinking that you have to be psychic. So let's take all of that off, intuition and psychic off, and put it over here and realize that we're talking about a partnership. So I never go into a reading, and I've retired from doing one-on-one readings for quite some time now, and except I did one today, and that really brought me, you know, I had an old client called and said, I really need to talk to you, and I went, fine. So I experienced that sense of, this isn't my information. I cannot access this information from whatever resource that I have in front of me. I have to do that as an open channel. So we have a partnership. So I have to surrender my expectations, my wants, my ego issues, and because confidence is about ego. It's not about it's not about skill. Reading cards is really about releasing attachment. And that's something that you really learn over time. It's not about you. If you realize that, and as a medium, I know that really well, because when I think it's about me, I'm like, oh, I don't hear anything. And the minute I go, okay, I don't care. I'm going to go sit over here. I'm going to move myself to the side, and all of a sudden the information's there. So it works that way in quantum physics too, that the observer, that the act of observation changes that which is being observed. So just remember, when you go neutral, when you're in that state of neutrality, you're at the soul. You're looking through the observer, and the observer is the soul, and the soul is connected to the divine. So remember that this is again, practical form of spirituality, of spiritual inquiry. So you don't do it by yourself. That's why maybe you're feeling lack of confidence, because you have disconnected from your connection to source. Okay. Will you please explain the reverse card, especially if it is the anchor card? Sepide, I like your name. Yes, even though this is not about the reverse card, but what?
Yeah.
The reverse card that I had in the actual like when I did that when it came up in the thing, and that was so awesome.
But you can also mention to people that we did do Oracle Cards 101.
I know. Okay, there's another workshop you can go look at, but I am still going to answer it anyway. But go look at. We have another workshop. Where can they find it?
We'll put it on the website.
We're going to put it on the website. Oracle Cards 101 talk about reverse cards. But let's talk about the reverse card as it relates to the anchor card. I think that's what we want to do, because we want to stick to the anchor card today. So if a card comes up in protection in as an anchor card, it means the subject that you're asking about is particularly important. You need extra care. You might need to course correct. It may represent something that's troubling you specifically, or it means that you just need a little extra guidance from the divine. So reversed cards in my oracle systems are all protection or alignment. Like my goddess deck coming up, there'll be alignment cards, so that you want to get into alignment with the divine, into alignment with your intentions and your highest good. So what I always find, that when the anchor card comes up as a protection, it means that I want to look closely at that card, and I always pull a second card. So even if you're doing a one card reading and it's in protection, I read both, right? I've written them that way. And I take a look. It's not the opposite of what the upright is. My cards are not created as opposites. So you really need to know my system. But again, when a reverse card comes up, it's in protection. It means you get extra care and an opportunity to course correct, learn a little bit more about the question, or maybe ask it in a different way. Okay. Lisa says, thank you. You're welcome. Do I have a PDF available for this workshop? No, right? What do we have? No, we're not. No, we do not have a PDF for this workshop. Can the card help prevent karmic pattern? That is also a really good. I love your questions. I love that you guys ask these really interesting questions. So let's talk about karma. Karma is the law of cause and effect. And so pulling oracle cards for yourself. I'm only going to talk about yourself because that's really how this applies. And this is what we teach in Personal Mastery and Oracle School. When you are co-creating your reality with consciousness, you have the ability to change your reality. You have the ability to end karmic debt. You have the ability to course correct. And you have the ability to create your future rather than predict your future. So yes, you can bring things back into coherence through learning about personal responsibility. Do I need to make amends? How do I put out a different energy to bring a different karma? So yes, you can make that shift when you learn how to be in personal mastery. So let me see the next one here. If you have specific questions, do you use the 3-card reading on your Oracle reading website? Do you just select the 1 card? Here's the thing. I think right now we want to look at the anchor card. And are we not doing a fantastic Oracle cards 3.0 next reading? So we are going to do an extensive...
Probably in August.
Probably in August, right? So we're going to do, August. We're going to do another one. So I'm going to talk about the 3 cards, but right now stick to the 1 card and then pick a second one. You can pick the 3, but just look at the first card. Just take a look at that first card and really get the hang of that first card. And then you can see how it moves. But again, stick to the anchor card till you really get it. Just because we're talking about that today. What is the best spread to use for daily use for self? 1 card. That is the best spread. 1 card a day. 1 card. Great info. Thank you. Thank you, Kate. Ninny. Oh, I love your name. Do you pick the cards for your client or do you pick them themselves? So I will tell you about me. So I've been doing this work full-time professionally for 30 years and have worked originally with traditional tarot, Celtic and Norse runes, and the I Ching. So whenever I had a person in front of me, I would shuffle the cards and I would have them choose. They would pick and then I would read for them. But it's really personal. I have friends who have done it the opposite way. They always are the ones to pick the cards. They don't like anybody touching their cards, which I think, whatever, it's personal. So you have to make the decision just before it actually happens. And then whatever you decide, that's how that dynamic is going to go. But then consequently, were you going to say something, Mark?
No,
oh, so also, most of my readings after the fact or coaching I've done on the phone, and I have clients or I had, because I retired a couple of years ago or a year and a half ago, doing readings, but I did everything on the phone. So I had to be the one choosing no matter what. So either if you're on the phone, you pick, and if you're with them, it's up to you how you feel confident. I think the people like to pick. That's been my experience. People like, oh, I touched the cards, I made them happen, instead of like, oh, you took the cards. So were you going to say something?
Yes. There's quite a few questions coming in, the same question, which
sure.
is how do you ask a question? And we have
PDF. So there is a PDF. Okay, so you guys need to get the free PDF on my website. So ColetteBaron-Reid.com/pick. That's where it is. And to the right on my website, and go to the page of my website. Take a look at my website too. It's totally gorgeous. I have live owls on my website. So you're going to download that free PDF about how to ask the right question. And that will teach you all the different variations of the way that and that doesn't matter, my Oracle cards or anybody's Oracle cards, they'll be reflected when you ask that specific type of question. Stay away from yes or no, which are always going to be nebulous and ambivalent, because it's rarely going to give you all the information that you need, unless the person's deck has been created to ask yes or no questions. Okay, how do you feel about using Oracle cards in conjunction with traditional tarot? I love it. So I use traditional tarot. I use the Universal Weight Tarot for 25 years, or 20 years. Sorry, no, is it 20? Yeah, 20 solid years. When I worked with clients, I created my own Oracle card deck, originally on playing cards with stickers on them, that I had created. That was actually the foundation for Wisdom of Avalon, which, because I hadn't signed Vahales at that point. This was like at the end of the 90s. And so I would use both. I would use the traditional tarot, and then I would use the Oracle card deck that I had created. And it actually tested the deck out so that it was very, very accurate. And I love to have that as a second opinion, because Oracle cards will tell you a different version of the story. So it's like just coming to it with a different perspective, like different facets of a diamond. So I mix decks all the time. I love it. So yes. I've been doing 1-card readings for a while. How do I know when to add other cards? Oh, when you feel like it. You can totally add other cards anytime you want. It's just I'm teaching about 1 card today. It's the anchor card today. You can choose 3 cards is really all you ever need. Of course, the tarot, I used to do 21-card readings. I have all kinds of readings. But what I have found over the years is that you can get the most accurate reading on the most simple amount of cards. And you will feel so confident as a result of that, as you get to know, like we talked about the little icebergs, right? The tips of the icebergs, as you get to know how to source that, what's hidden underneath. So less cards, easier for you to learn, more to talk about with the person in front of you. Bradley, what about other teachers that teach past, present, and future readings? I prefer your method of the anchor card and the story in motion. Hi, Bradley. So why don't we, I believe there's lots of teachers that are good. And I learned the future predictions because I made a living doing that, because that's what I knew how to do. And that was how my reputation was built, was based on predictive accuracy. So you're talking to somebody who's actually done that and looked into the future. What I teach is more about empowering yourself and others. And so although the future card shows you where you're heading, it doesn't give you a finite landing point. And a lot of people, when they first come to Oracle cards, don't know that. So I do believe you can, I mean, of course, past, present, future, but that future, when we're scared, and especially right now, culturally, everybody is scared everywhere. They want certainty. Well, there's a trouble with that. If you're looking at one card for the certainty of the future, you could get into a lot of trouble, because that's not necessarily true. That's the motion. That's the direction you're heading in. So this is why I teach a little bit more complicated way of seeing things, but a much more, I think, truthful and realistic way of looking at how we move in the world. And that also empowers us, because then we can change. If it's a fixed future and the future is not mutable, like astrology is a really good thing. Like I'm doing a class with Deborah Silverman, Stars and Cards. And we take the fixed system of astrology that gives you the weather report with the fluid system, because Oracle cards are fluid. They show the fluidity of movement in a person's life, their choices, their evolution of their consciousness, their soul, karma, all that stuff. So the two together are amazing. But when you go past, present, future, oh, here's what your future is going to be. Right? That's not going to tell you the experience of that. And so I believe right now, this is me. This is what I like to teach. I like to empower people with Oracle cards and get you empowered with the cards, rather than be afraid or be fixated on a future that is only a moment in time. Okay. Vicky, is it better to ask an open-ended question? Yes, it is. That's the only way you should be asking a question. Will your Oracle school offer a payment plan, Chris? Yes, we will. Sue, what happens if the second and third card seems to contradict the anchor card? That is a great question, but we want to hold that question for Oracle Cards 3.0, where we talk about the three cards. But I will just say this. No card will really contradict the first card. Remember, the first card is the 360 degree of where you've come from, where you're looking, what's going on, a dominant energy, what you came to. And remember, that can change. So the next two things can change. And because let's say I wake up in the morning and I go swimming, and in the morning my hair was dry, and my card says your hair is dry, and then the next card is your hair is wet, right? But it's because I went swimming. You see what I mean? So remember that it's motion. And then the best way to learn this too is keep a journal, and at the end of the day you look over what was, and then you say, oh, now I get it. Like today, for example, I did 3 cards, a 3-card reading, and it talked about something that meant nothing to me, nothing. I'm like looking at my husband like, this is making me anxious. Like, I don't understand this. And I'm the one that made these cards. And I'm like going, what is this reflecting? My dominant energy is calm. That's true. Tick. I came neutral. Tick. And it's showing me about this particular subject. Well, my reading with this woman this morning was all about those 3 cards, but I didn't know that cards were reflecting something that I needed to prepare for. So you see, this gives us a freedom. While we know, oh yes, this subject is going to be important to me today. And it was, I spent an hour really looking at this particular subject for someone else. You see what I mean? Just like how when I pulled the card, truth be told, in protection, I just talked about that card. What are the chances? I'm shuffling the cards. There's 56 cards that I'm going to get that exact card in protection as an exclamation point of saying, yeah, see, we just talked about that. Right now, I know how this works. So you have to get used to it. And that's why I'm teaching it to you now, way before any of you go to Oracle school, so that even if you don't come, you have more ammunition. I want everybody to use Oracle cards, mine or anybody else's, to help navigate the world right now. We all need to be empowered. And if we go by the news, there's nothing empowering about that. Okay. Donna says, when life's hardships come in multiple lessons, is this spirit pushing you for hard change to let go and trust? Well, that's actually not a card question, but I will just say in general, yes. I mean, when multiple things come, I mean, they come, usually they're correlated, and you don't really find out what the lesson is until after. So, okay. I've already talked about that. Danny, do you have a conversation related to your first card from a brand new deck? Oh, you can. I like to talk to all my cards in my decks because I think they're alive. So they're like little people that you talk to. So yes, when you get a new deck, it's good for you to really connect to the deck and even choose a card. Like, what is this deck going to offer us? Tracy says, how do you use the card for more than one situation going on? You separate the situations. Do you do a general question or do you do more than one reading? I would do more than one reading. If you have more than one situation, you can do an overview of what's going on, the general energy. That's what I do every week on the weekly Oracle card forecast and lessons, because I'm showing the weather report for everybody, like a general weather report. That's what's going on in the air. And then you look for your personal cards after. So you can look at a general and then separate it out and going, okay, this is what's my overarching theme. Now let me go and take a look at how this applies to these situations. Okay, my gosh, Mark, how many more questions? These are like 1,000 questions.
They'll keep us on here for 5 hours.
Okay, so we're gonna do a few more. Okay, so why is it not suggested to ask yes or no question? Why there is a yes or no card? The here's one of the reasons why I didn't create them to do yes or no, because a lot of times, and I found this over the years of working professionally in this world, doing like, I think I've read for over 50,000 individual peoples now. I mean, I that gives me some credibility here to tell you. But the thing is when people say, should I do this, yes or no? You give your power away when you're asking for yes or no. So I do have a card in this deck that says not for you. And it also has like another card in there, which is the other one, all that glitters and protection. So the cards will tell you like, this may not be the right choice because you are going to enter into a situation that's not what you want. But when you ask yes or no questions, you're giving your power away to the deck. And so that's why I don't have them in my decks and I don't ever ask the questions like that. Just because I've seen other people do it and it's not accurate either. And again, it's a power dynamic. What is the biggest clue you have brought an assumption that you have brought an assumption into reading? Your feelings. So, and the motive for asking the cards. So like my friend that I was telling you about that got truth be told in protection was paranoid about this other person. It was like, come up with some crazy maniac story in her head about this thing that was happening, that she did, that she didn't do, that she lied about, whatever. And it was because she had the story in her head, because she was actually like, it was funny because the two of them never have a really good communication style. Instead of picking up the phone and saying like, how are you? Can you talk to me about this thing? She listened to the hearsay of someone else and said, oh, well, maybe she's mad at you because of drama queens. See, so she made up the story and then came to it energetically already feeling that story. So if you have a story and an assumption and you come to it like, I'm assuming something is not good, or I'm assuming that this is like this. And it's mostly around negative assumptions. A great book to read actually is not mine, is Don Miguel Ruiz's book, The Four Agreements. And one of them is don't make assumptions. So it's really, really good to read about that, because you'll see how assumptions, we can't tell what's really going on. We decide on stories and then we project them on the screen of our lives. And what I teach, especially in Oracle School, is how not to do that generally. And we really do have an extraordinary universe. And it opens up to us when we let go our assumptions and just see what's real. Okay. Will I be writing a book? I write lots of books. Yes. Your first deck is the Shaman deck. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Any advice about it? I'm probably going to do a Facebook Live on Mystical Shaman, or a little workshop, because I like the workshops better than Facebook Lives. Too. So I'll talk to Mark about that. I did speak to Alberto about that too. So I'll probably just do my own, because a lot of people have been asking about Mystical Shaman. So the advice is just read the guidebook and really sit with it. It's a more serious deck. So you want to just tune into the vibe of the deck and meditate before you use it. Go ahead, Mark. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been almost an hour.
No, have we been on for an hour? Have I been answering questions for an hour?
No, I haven't answered questions for an hour.
Let me go just for like 5 more minutes.
Okay.
Because I think they want.
You're going to need to wrap up.
And then I'm going to wrap up. Okay, so let me just pull. Yes, I hang out in the intuitive gym. What are you going to say, Mark? Do you see another really important reading?
No, they're all good.
Okay, so Megan asked, why do I pick 4 in my weekly reading? So 4 is the number of balance. The Hopis, and again, I don't want to culturally appropriate, but I did learn it from a person who kind of mentored me, talked about the four corners, the four agreements, the four corners of the table, the four directions. So there gives us stability. So the four cards represent stability, and we're looking at everything from north, west, east, south, and it's like the covering of the foundation of the sky above us. That's why I do four cards. Can we pull out an anchor card for a dear one? You can, as long as that person gives you permission. When you answer the question about cards that seem internally conflicting in a reading, you talked about a shift that can happen during a reading. Do you recommend pulling the cards all at once, or reading and analyzing each card before you pull the next? So that's aren't these guys smart? That's going to be for next. You have to sign up for the next workshop, because that's a great question, but we're not going to answer that today. But boy, oh boy, you guys are smart. What about how sometimes the universe is telling you something you were not asking? Yes, you need to know so-and-so. Remember I said that earlier about, like, they're not answering, they're not showing you. Like, that's what happened to me today. Those three cards that I pulled today, and the first card should have told me, the anchor card. I always pull three, but it was like, what? This isn't about me. How is this? Like, what am I missing? But it was all about that person. The next person I spoke to that day was all about those three cards. So you're right. Sometimes they just show up that way. And that's spirit, or because when you pray and you're asking the universe or spirits, they show me what is in my highest good. That's always what you do. What is my highest good? What do I need to know today for my highest good? Kabam. Then the cards show you. And it may just be exactly what you said. Turn left, or go here, or go be playful in the garden, something like that. Okay, one more, and then I could just do this forever.
Actually,
what? Do you have a good one?
No, what I want to say is
we have 1,000 questions.
Because there's a lot of questions that came in
regarding to
what happened in Oracle Cards 101. We're actually going to put a link to that one as well in the emails. In your emails, okay. For this replay.
Perfect. Thank you, Mark. I don't know if you guys heard that, but because so many of you asked questions about the last workshop, which you can have, so he is going to send that link out as well as the replay link for this, so you guys can go and look at that one too. That one was really also pretty rich. And again, stay to the Q&A at the end. Even though it's recorded, you're going to see me answer a lot of really good questions and teach more on the same subject. So I hope you enjoy these things. Like, I love doing this for you, and I totally love doing it. I'm so glad my husband decided, let's do workshops instead of Facebook Lives. Like, I love Facebook, but you get these crazy people on there sometimes too. So, and we know we're all here for the same reason. And I love to teach, and I really do love to give it to you. You don't have to join my Oracle school if you don't want to. I just really want to teach people so that you can get the best set of Oracle cards. Okay. So remember, get out there and go to my website, ColetteBaron-Reid.com/pick, and start practicing manifesting your ideal life, because that's what we're doing this for. It's not about predicting what's already happened. We want to create the future, not predict the future. We want to take our power back from what's going on in the world and stay in our highest good and stay in alignment with our best life. Now we're going to have, join my Oracle, of course, join the wait list for Oracle School, which will be starting in the fall. So we send out all these like really cool videos in September, and the school starts early October. So we have a wait list, and on that wait list, even if you don't join the school, it's fine. Every week we send you something really interesting about what to know about Oracle cards. So you're going to get a whole bunch of stuff if you do that. And we have plenty of details leading up to enrollment. And when you join the when you join the wait list, you get all kinds of information, as I mentioned, tips and tricks, and about how to do better with Oracle cards. So until the next webinar workshop, I made sure I wrote all these things down, because I can be slightly scattered. My brain has too many ideas in it at the same time. Actually, Robert Holden told me that my mind is like a really fancy airport with all these Dreamliners landing and taking off at the same time. And he said to me, he goes, you don't have to get on every plane, Colette. So my husband said to me, stay on the plane today, write your notes out. Okay, so stay tuned for the next workshop in August. It's going to be Oracle Cards 3.0, all about the 3-card reading. And thank you so much for joining. I'm amazed at how many people actually showed up today. I'm kind of shocked. It's so cool. I think 9,000 people signed up, and it was amazing. So bless you all. And I really, really, really hope this helped you today. Mwah! Love you all. Take care.
We are the fortunate one. You are the fortunate ones. We are the fortunate ones. You are the fortunate ones. We are the fortunate ones. You are the fortunate ones. We are the fortunate ones. You are the fortunate ones. You're not the only one. You lost the key to your life. It's only natural. You don't make your choices right. So what's your bottom line? Do we want you suicidal? Denial? Just throw yourself away. We are the fortunate ones. You are the fortunate ones. We are the fortunate ones. You are the fortunate ones. You're not the only one. Sold your soul on the street. Was only practical.